Break the Board Sports. It's your boy RJ Cash. Woo! Man, the Broncos. What a game that was. Got us in there on the teaser. San Francisco got us last night, able to get the win with them. Toronto Blue Jays cashed with the double unit. Did fall with the Chargers and the Jets. I mean, that Jets team, they're just absolutely pathetic. But hey, full transparency, that's what we do here. And then the Dallas Cowboys raked it in for us. Love them. Again, I told you all year long, not just because McLaurin and Samuel are out. You know, I'm a DC native. I'm telling you right now, this is the Dan Quinn epidemic. He has one good year and he sucks. That's just the way it is. And they got rolled by that Dallas offense yesterday. Click that like, hit subscribe. Check out all of our content, 3 to 4 pieces a day. Let's hop right in. Doubleheader Monday Night Football. I love these true doubleheaders. I don't mind the staggered start if it's like 7 and 9. But this whole 7 and 8 is garbage. I love this, though. 7 p.m., 10 p.m. here on the East Coast. That means I can get in bed tucked in by 2 a.m. So, first game on the board, Bucs-Lions. Lions are a 6-point favorite, and this one's starting to take some shape. So far over the weekend, through yesterday, through the 1 o'clock games, the most heavily bet game from a money perspective they were showing over there at MGM was the Detroit Lions. That was the biggest bet on the board that had to go with. I'm just looking that up to refresh again. I do a lot of things in real time, so we're up to date. But the Lions now, second most bet ticketed side at BetMGM and the most money with 88%. We're just going to go off the DraftKings betting split. Right now, Lions 6-point favored. You're over under 53.5. Now, the books are going to need the under for sure. 76% of tickets, 81% of the handle going over that total, which you can imagine why with these two offenses. 24% of bets, 19% of handle is on the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions, they're grabbing 44% of tickets, Tampa Bay 56%. So a little bit more even than that lopsidedness they got over at MGM. FanDuel's the same way. It's very lopsided. 67% of the money on the Lions, 33% on the Tampa Bay Bucks. Now, we got off pretty good. We had the Lions holding over in a 7-point teaser. So we got that going for us. Plus, we got +1 on that. But looking to make some more angles for today. Obviously, I love to try to middle things as much as possible. And I think the first thing is when you look at it, the favorites have had their way this weekend. It's been very much a favorites weekend. As right now, for the week, if you look here, just pulling it up to make sure I got that absolutely right here. So favorites own the weekend. The dogs, they took the evening slate of games. Sorry, just updating here. Yeah, so including the Niners that flipped to a dog, 8 and 5 are the favorites on the weekend. That includes the Thursday night game. So I like teasing both dogs in a 7-point teaser here. Let's take the Bucks +13, Texans +10. Make sure you shop around. A teaser should push. It should never lose if it falls on the number, but there's some books out there that try to do some shysty stuff. So just make sure you know the rules of it. I also like teasing it the other way. I'm doubling down on the Lions to win this game, even though I think it comes down to the end. I like the Lions tease with the Texans again. Also, Texans coming off the bye. Seattle hasn't won at home, but we'll get into that one a little bit later. But I love teasing it both ways in this. Tampa +13 and the Lions at pick. I also like the under here. I know that sounds a little dicey, but Tampa Bay has a good defense. I realize Detroit has the secondary issues with injuries. But listen, really, Baker Mayfield's been getting by, but that Detroit front seven can still apply enough pressure. I know Mike Evans is coming back, but I don't know if that's enough to move the needle per se against this Lions defense. And again, home field's a factor. Let's hop into some trends. Tampa 4-2 ATS their last 6 and 5-1 straight up their last 6. They've been very, very good. But this is why I love Detroit to win this game. ATS, these teams, the last 17 meetings, Tampa Bay has been on the short end. Detroit is 12-5 against the spread the last 17 meetings with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Detroit's 4-1 ATS their last 5 overall, and they're 16-4 straight up their last 20. Now, may say, what about over-unders? The over is cashed 4 of the last 5 games for Tampa, and it's cashed 8 of the last 12 for Detroit, which I can see why everybody's hopping on that over. But listen, 4 of the last 6 these two teams have played head-to-head have went under. So that under 53.5, there's actually a couple 54s out there. I'm going to play the under 54. And look, I equate this just like I did the Browns-Dolphins game. The biggest need for the books yesterday wasn't a side, it was the total. It was they needed the over in the Browns game because everybody in the world was betting the under, talking about the Browns offense, the Dolphins offense, the weather, blah, blah, blah. And then about an hour and a half before kickoff, something I never do, I said, you know what, this is getting out of hand where you got less than 10% of the money on the under. I gave out the under to all of our players because I'm like, listen, this is just, I got everybody zigging. I'm going to zag on this one. There's just no way when you get an NFL total, it ended up being just absolutely egregious, like over 33.5, over 34.5, depending on where you shop. And at that point, I said, we got to make a play on this and go against everybody. Now, Tampa Bay comes in 5-1, Detroit 4-2. Both of these teams, very good ATS, 4-2 ATS. Last week, Tampa Bay hosted San Francisco. They got the win 30-19. Detroit lost that 30-17 when on Monday Night Football, or on Sunday Night Football, rather. So I feel like they're stinging a little bit. Now, these two teams met last year, a game in Detroit that Tampa won 20-16. So we talk about that under 54. And again, everybody's going over 53.5, 54s. We're going to play under 54. And here's why. Just look at the last 2 meetings, right, that they've played in the last calendar year. They played in the playoffs, the end of the 23 season. Then last year they played. So last year, 20-16 in Tampa Bay. That's 36. Year before, 31-23 Detroit, 54 points scored in that playoff game. And if you look back before that, they played earlier in that 2023 season. So they've played 3 times basically in the last 2 years. That was 20-6. So these teams constructed with Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield, if you were going under 54, you've easily covered it twice and you've pushed it the other time. That leads me, I'm going to go under again. Everybody sees Baker and what he's doing, and rightfully, if they had the MVP betting, he'd be the MVP right now. And Jared Goff and that offense, and you think Detroit and Tampa, you think all these points. I think these defenses tighten up. Listen, the reality is 28-24, you're at 52, right? And 27-23, you're at 50, right? 31-24, that would beat you, put you at 55. But I might even wait on that 54. You might see this tick up a little bit, but I would definitely put a little on the 54 right now. But again, I just think it's really good value here to zag and go against the grain here with everybody on that over-under. Now, let's get into some more trends. The first half game total over. Right now it sets at 26.5. Tampa Bay in the first half have went over 14 of their last 21 contests. If you've been following that trend, you're up 7.05 units, about 29% return on your investment. If you're looking at them, the Detroit Lions to hit the money line in the first quarter, right now they're minus $1.70 in the first quarter. And I think that really, if you can find something to parlay that with, and we'll get into that in a little bit, they've hit that 8 of their last 11 home games. Again, Detroit getting out to a fast start at home. You'd be up 5.5 units, about a 24% return on your investment there. Now, the Broncos, on the flip side, they haven't been very good in the first half money line. 9 of their last 21 is all they've hit it. You'd be down 7.7 units, down 20% return on your investment is what it would be for you there. Last thing I want to touch on, Lions, last 10 games at home as a favorite, straight up 7-3. That's why I like the tease there to get them down to pick. Now, ATS, they're just 5-5. Last 10 games as a home favorite. Last 10 games as a road dog for Tampa, they're 7-3. They've been road warriors. So now let me get them up to that 13. Again, I can absolutely see 31-20. I can see the Tampa losing this game by 10 or 1. I can see Detroit win it by 3. That's why I say Detroit pick, Tampa 13. I think you're in good shape. We are going against some trends on this next one, though. As a road dog, 8-2 to the over is Tampa Bay. Detroit as a home favorite, 7-3 to the over. So a lot of overness. I get that. Again, I'm just willing. Sometimes you got to look at it and be like, I get the trends, I get this, but everybody's piled on this side. I'm going to zag the other side. That's just a part of handicapping and having a good feel. Once you do it for a while, and again, I think the biggest mistake you have in your betting, right, for all you recreational guys, you're looking at what you feel instead of numbers. But sometimes even once you start looking at more numbers based, more trends based, once you shift your mindset, then you can put your feel into it when you look at a number and you're like, okay, that makes sense. But the whole world's on that. Okay. Now as a handicapper, not as a recreational bettor, as a handicapper, I know I got to zag this way. I might not win it, but I'm going to win 80% of the time just zagging the other way, right? So again, just little tidbits as we go along here. Looking at some player props, was just putting some stuff together here. Again, I like doing these alternate things. I know everybody loves these 20 parlay tickets, 20 different sides to win you like $100,000 off a $5 bet. I'm more interested in picking up units. Yes, people hit those, but if you look over the course of it, I mean, that's just not really a good way to bet. I know it's exciting. Some of y'all that are recreational, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't, because you're still losing money and I'm in the business of making money, right? So every day I go to bed with more money in my pocket than I started with, it was a good day to me, right? So when I look at this, I'm just trying to put parlays together, and maybe it's a 4 or 5, but plus money, just a little bit of plus money, or maybe I'm only laying darts when you say, well, I've got to hit all those things. But I'm moving the lines drastically. Again, I'm trying to pick up units, which is net ROI into my bottom line, because I'm treating this like a stock market. I'm not treating this as how many games can I pick out and be correct, right? So I put this together, just going off in a couple different things. One, obviously, though, I think both of these defenses, I talked about that under. I also think there's some bend but don't break in this, right? Because I can't get away from the two quarterbacks. If you took Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield and you just look at their passing prop for this game, right? So passing yards right now, FanDuel's got Jared Goff over 261.5, and it's got Baker Mayfield over 250.5. So I just put Goff and Baker Mayfield both alt total, both to get over 200 yards. I feel like they can both get over the 200-yard mark. I mean, if Baker doesn't, the Bucs are going to get blown out, right? So it's just a matter of, can Goff get there, because the Lions do a really good job running the football. Then I put Jahmyr Gibbs over 40 rushing yards alt total. Again, you could maybe stretch that to 50. I just wasn't trying to be greedy. And then I put Baker Mayfield alt passing TDs just to get one. And again, when you look at that, just it's over under 1.5 for both of them. But on the alt Baker Mayfield one, let me skip down and get back to it. The reason I like that is because it's like minus, it was something crazy, like minus 800. But again, I just put that parlay, I just put in there for the parlay speaking. So I got Goff and Mayfield, both alt passing yards over 200. Jahmyr Gibbs, alt 40 yards rushing over. And Baker Mayfield to throw at least one touchdown, plus 105. I put a single unit play on that. I feel very comfortable with that. You also look at, we just talked about first quarter spread, right? And we talked about the money line for the Detroit Lions. Right now, you can get them on the first quarter minus 1.5, plus 104. I'm going to go ahead and put a single unit on that at plus money. I just like that. We talked about that trend just a little bit ago where the Lions have owned the first quarter. I think the Lions get out to a very fast start here. So that's going to be mine there. Again, you can get into player props. We could be here for hours going through them. I would just say it's not the volume of bets. Try to find yourself 3 good bets. Like we just put this 14 parlay together. It's only plus 105. But again, you can't be taking these big swings. It's just sports handicapping is not set that way. It is a grind, and you're trying to grind out profit and build your bankroll. So then instead of a $10 player, by March Madness, if you take now, if you're a $10 bettor, if you're just listening to what I'm saying, instead of a $10 bettor, you should be a $100 bettor by March Madness. Instead of a $100 bettor, you should be a $500 bettor by March Madness, because you're building a bankroll. Here's the other thing. You don't need to be pulling your money out every week. Treat yourself once a month, take a little cash out, go to a nice dinner or go do something. But again, you have a job for a reason. That should be paying your bills. You shouldn't be trying to supplement bills with sports handicapping. You're building a bankroll, because let me tell you guys, if you ever get to the spot where you can bet a dime a game, right, for the calendar year across all sports, and you'll make ton of money, and that's why a lot of people do it professionally. They don't have to chase. They're not trying to make things up. So got a little off topic there, but I feel like that was good info, and sometimes I just get off script. Next one, Texans at the Seahawks. Seahawks laying 3. Your over-under here is 41.5. Now, 67% of bets are to the over, 38% of the handle to the over, only 33% of bets to the under, but 62% of the money. Remember, you hear me talk about this in shows. When you have a high ticket count, low dollar amount, typically public, low ticket count, higher dollar amount, typically pros. So not always, but more than likely, that's the way it goes. 73% of bets, 84% of the money going to the Seattle Seahawks. Only 27% of the bets, 16% of the money going to the Houston Texans. Texans are just 1-4 straight up against Seattle, and they're 2-4 straight up their last 6. Now, Seattle 4-1 ATS their last 5, 4-1 straight up in that same time frame. But Seattle has really struggled to cover at home. They're just 2-8 against the spread their last 10 matchups. Now, last 10 games as a favorite, 8-2 straight up, 7-3 to the over at that time. Houston straight up as a dog, 2-8, and as a road dog, straight up 2-8. So it hasn't been very good there. They're also 4-6 is Houston ATS as a road underdog. Straight up as a home favorite, 7-3 are the Seahawks, but they're just 3-6-1 against the spread as a home favorite. So much different there. Seattle comes in 4-2, both straight up and ATS. Houston 2-3 straight up and ATS. These two teams haven't played since 2021, so not a whole lot to pick from as far as that perspective goes. Texans they are 14-7 ATS on the first half spread. Their last 21 games, you've been following that. You're up 5.75 units, about a 23% return on your investment. On the money line, they're also 14-7 over their last 21. That puts you up 5.5 units, 18% ROI. Right now, you can get them about plus $1.40 in a couple spots for the first half. I think that's something that's got some value. You could definitely look at capturing there. Now, first quarter game total over. They've hit 11 of the last 20 games. You'd be up 2.75 units. Right now, that over-under is 7.5 for the first quarter. And Houston, they're only 12-10 ATS their last 22, only up 2.2 units, only a 9% return on your investment there. When I look at this game, I like teasing Houston up to the plus 10. I think anything else that you try to do with this game is going to be dependent on looking at player props, right? I can't trust Seattle laying 3. I like Houston coming off the bye. Remember, this is a lot like Atlanta coming off the bye, right, against Buffalo, which we had them plus 4. They won outright. Bears coming off the bye against Washington last Monday night. We had them. They won outright. So we gave out both dogs last week, and they won outright. I think this Houston thing has a very similar take. I'm not saying Houston's going to win the game, but teasing Houston to plus 10, or if you can find a 3.5, if you could find the 3 in the hook, because I think if Seattle wins this game, it's a field goal game. I think the books did a very good job and spot on. I don't think you're going to see it move off 3, because if you went to 3.5, sharps would pound it. If you went to 2.5, the public would pound it, right? So looking at some player props, touchdown scores here, Charbonnet down at the goal line is always a tough one for Seattle, plus $1.45. I think if you find Nick Chubb plus 260 for the Texans, Cooper Kupp plus 260 for an anytime touchdown. I actually think Nick Chubb, first touchdown scorer, 12-1. I like that one. I like that one. I like Texans getting down there, throwing the football. Also, CJ Stroud, anytime touchdown, 9.5-1. If you take CJ Stroud for the first touchdown, 35-1. So I like that. I think Houston comes out. Again, they've had a whole week to prepare for this. Houston, one of the better defenses in the NFL. Seattle still has a ton of secondary issues. Houston struggles to run the ball, so they have to throw it. So it kind of fits in there. Again, I'll take Houston plus 3.5 here. I'll buy the hook and lay $1.20 plus 3.5. We got that parlay we talked about for a unit. Jared Goff, alt over 200 yards. Baker Mayfield, alt passing yards over 200. Jahmyr Gibbs, alt rushing yards over 40. Baker Mayfield to throw at least a touchdown, plus 105. So we got plus money there. I'll take both dogs in a single unit 7-point teaser with the Bucks plus 13 and Houston plus 10 there in that. And then I'll also look at the under 54 in the Lions game. I'd also say anything you can do with Lions money line and your parlays. I like the Lions to win, but I like Tampa Bay to cover the 7-pointer in a 13-point teaser. I think we're in for a great game. And I think, again, don't sleep on this Texan team. I think this game becomes way closer. I do think Seattle probably squeezes out the win. I mean, eventually they got to win one at home. But I just like when you have these teams coming off the bye, plus they're coming off the bye playing Monday night. We saw it last week with Atlanta, Chicago. Again, we gave out those two favorites. I just like that spot. Click that like, hit subscribe, more content all day long. God bless and happy handicapping.